Wednesday and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I hope you're all doing really well. Today's video, I'm off today, so I'm filming this on a Wednesday and putting it up on a Wednesday. David and I have been to watch Bridget Jones, which is what all that makeup is down my sleeve, where I was just wiping the tears away. Didn't stop crying the whole way through. Like, honestly, that's not even an exaggeration. I literally didn't stop crying the whole way through. And then the crying was interspersed with laughter. Laughing. It was very, very good. We really enjoyed it. But we've been to watch that, and I'm gonna film this now and then edit it and get it up for you guys, do a bit of reading, maybe go out for a little walk, and yeah, just taking it easy today. This started off as a small granny square, and I've just kept going round and round and round until it's become a bit of a bigger granny square. It was going to be, I had 3 balls of this. Now this is where my skills stop, because I don't know if that amount of wool is going to get me to the end of there. That's where I need to get to. Hopefully it will. And then that is all of the 3 balls of this wool that I had used up. But I was thinking I could then do a border of another colour. But yeah, it was going to be a blanket, but not for an adult. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's actually, I was a bit worried that it'll be a bit itchy, but it's not. But I'm really pleased with how I am able to do what I have been told this is called double crochet. So yeah, there we go. But today I'm here answering your questions. So earlier on in the week, I haven't done a Q&A in ages, and I love watching Q&As and I love doing Q&As. And I thought I'll ask you guys some questions on Instagram, and then I'll answer the questions. So I haven't put them in any order or anything, so I'm literally going to work my way through. There's been a few about like the same sort of thing, so I'll just do that, and then maybe I'll do a little bit of crochet as I'm going. So the first question is, how have your reading habits changed, or have they changed in the last few years? Well, I think one of the main things I've noticed since I started doing booktube is that I am now better at picking books that I like to read. So I would say one habit that's changed is that I don't DNF books as often, because previously, I think in the early days of booktube and before booktube, was that I would just read sort of whatever I could get my hands on and not sort of curate it to what I wanted. So quite often I would maybe rate a book lower or not finish it because I wasn't enjoying it. And nowadays, certainly in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, and even more so like in recent years, I feel like my DNF rate is very low. I haven't DNF'd a book this year, and we're halfway through February. And yeah, my score is higher because I'm better at knowing what I like. So that's one thing that's definitely changed. At the moment, I've got a bit of a reading habit, which I've been doing since the beginning of the year, and I don't think this will continue because we've now got, I've got the Irish Readathon coming up, and I've got some, I've got the Women's Prize for Non-Fiction long list, which some books have started coming in at the library for me, and then the fiction long list is next month. But this year, a habit I've got myself into is having 4 books on the go, books on the go, 1 a library book, 1 a book I own, 1 on me Kindle, and 1 audiobook. So every week, with a few exceptions, I've basically finished 4 books a week, because I've been reading all 4 of those sort of mediums, which has been really nice. And then it sort of means I've been getting through books on my shelf, I've been getting through my library books, I've been reading stuff on my Kindle, maybe opting for bigger books on my Kindle that I don't necessarily want to hold, and then the audiobook side of things. So yeah, there's been a few things where that hasn't happened, but yeah, that's definitely a reading habit that's sort of changed. Would love to hear about your reading habits, guys. Let me know down below if you've noticed what your reading habits have been like over the years. Where is your favourite place in the UK to visit? Oh, well, David and I have been on quite a few places around the UK. We had a lovely holiday in Cromer a few years ago, and I feel like that was extra special because it was just as sort of COVID wasn't happening anymore, I think. Yeah, I'm sure. So that felt very special. Was that then? Yeah, I think it was. We love a seaside town, and we've been doing a lot of walks this year, and like we've done 2 seaside ones back to back, and that's been lovely. And we also live by the seaside, so we love seaside stuff. And that we've got my cousin Laura in Whitstable, so we often visit down there as well. In Kent, favourite places to go are Whitstable, the Pigott Bridge place, that's another very special place to go for us. But yeah, we had a really, really nice holiday in the Forest of Dean, which was really lovely, on the Welsh border, in an Airbnb there. We've been very fortunate with the Airbnbs we've done. Hastings, another lovely seaside town we've been to. Yeah, those sort of places. But I don't know if I've got one favourite place. But seaside towns and little Airbnbs in the middle of nowhere. Any cosy or spooky mystery podcasts? I don't listen to anything spooky or mystery. And I don't really consume at all anything spooky or mystery by telly or book or anything. So I don't have any spooky or mystery podcasts. In terms of cosy podcasts that we listen to, so we're always like The Archers, obviously. I've got an Archers podcast myself, with 3 others that I do called All About the Archers. I'll link that down below if you're not interested, if you are interested, or if you didn't know. But also, David and I love listening to 2 podcasts. One is the Richard Osman and Marina Hyde, The Rest is Entertainment podcast, which is like, comes out twice a week. One is a question and answers podcast. One is about a theme that's going on in entertainment at the moment. And we just love all the, here he comes with a cup of tea. We love that Richard Osman podcast, don't we?
We sure do.
We love the sort of broad range of stuff it covers, so it can really entertain both me and David, because Richard is an author, and often there'll be stuff in there about books and bestsellers and things like that, but also it covers like movies and what's going on behind the scenes of movies. Marina's got a lot of knowledge about that, and also television stuff and stuff that's going on in sort of like show business. It's a great listen. I don't know how interesting it would be sort of like outside of the UK maybe, but for us it's our go-to podcast. And then we also really like Jonathan Ross and Honey Ross's movie podcast called Real Talk, and we quite like that because Jonathan Ross is an older man, and Honey Ross is a younger woman, younger than David and I, and they're sort of things that they like and dislike in films sometimes align and sometimes they don't, so you get quite a broad chat about what's going on in films, and they review 3 films a week, and then they have a little bonus episode as well. So yeah, those are 2. I mean, maybe not cozy, but like they're our go-to podcast that we never miss. Best book to listen to as an audiobook are over reading it. So I've got 3 which are from the annals of time, from when I first started listening to audiobooks, and I've got 3 favourites which I remember so fondly, and hopefully you will enjoy them too. So the first one is Stay With Me by Abami Adebayo. And I absolutely love that. It's about a woman who is becoming the second wife to a man, and he hopes to have children with her, and it sort of all spans from there. But the audiobook was top. Sadly, I listened to A Spell of Good Things recently, and that's the second book by the author, and I didn't get on very well with that. My Name is Leon by Kit DeWall is a fantastic audiobook, narrated by Lenny Henry, and just done so perfectly. I would go as far as to say it is my favourite audiobook of all time. I thought it was absolutely amazing, and I've re-listened to that quite a few times. It's very good, and that's about a young boy who's sort of in and out of the care system, and his life growing up in the 80s. He's a mixed race child, and what that sort of means in terms of him being in the care system, and also just sort of out and about, and yeah, it is top. It's also been made into a TV series, which I still haven't watched, which is insane. I've actually read the book as well, because I've listened to it loads, read it a few times. It's a brilliant book, and the audiobook is fantastic. And then the last one I would go for is, I can never think what it's called, but it's by Hallie Rubenhold. It's a non-fiction book about the women who were murdered by Jack the Ripper. I think it's called The Five. Let's have a look. The Five. The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper. Now, when I first started listening to audiobooks, I definitely was much more of a non-fiction girl listening to audiobooks, but as time's gone by, I very much enjoy fiction. But that was one of the non-fiction books I listened to, and it was just like, I just felt so well informed. It was delivered so brilliantly, and the topic itself is sort of like, often when you hear things about Jack the Ripper, it's about him. You don't hear anything about the women that he killed. So I thought it was a well pitched topic as well. So yeah, very good. And I've never gone to any more of Hallie Rubenhold stuff either, so I absolutely must do that, because I really enjoyed that book, and that's one that I've recommended to a few people as well. So there we go. 3 books for you that I think are better as audiobooks rather than as on the page. God, we're only on question 4. We've got thousands of them. Am I still using Sweepy? Yeah, so Sweepy is a cleaning app that you can download, and you can sort of set to go with the rooms that you've got in your house and the jobs that you might want to do in there. I've been using it for a couple of years now. I at one point had like almost 100-day streak, which was lovely, but I have not got a 100-day streak. But I'm still using it and still trying to get to those heady days of almost a 100-day streak. But yeah, I think if you're trying to get into cleaning your house more regularly and you like that dopamine hit of getting a little every time you've done a job, then I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, I need to get back into, David and I tend to be doing, so we had a big clean up at the weekend where we just, for 2 hours solid, which is equivalent of 4 hours because it's 2 hours of my work and 2 hours of David work, we just blitz the house. And then in the week we try and do sort of top-up jobs, but mainly the top-up jobs are like doing a load of washing or maybe cleaning the toilet if we've got somebody coming round. So yeah, I need to get better on it. I'm still using it for sure. Do you think your relationships with clothes has changed since your low buy? I would definitely say so, in the way that I'm really pleased with how, like for instance today, I'm wearing a jumper that I got for my, I think I got this for my 30th birthday from my mum, and it's got the year of my birth on it and my birth flower. Hello Debbie. And I'm definitely like wearing things more. Last year I did a challenge whereby I wore a different outfit for every single day of the year, and by the end of that I was just like, I just want to be putting on the same pair of jeans, which are these, I got these for my birthday of my sister, and wearing them like 4 or 5 times a week with a different top. So that, I guess the question is about the low buy year, but I also learned a lot from my fashion challenge last year, in that sometimes it's really nice to have a favourite pair of trousers and or a favourite outfit and just to wear it, which I've definitely been enjoying doing this year, wearing the same outfit many times. So yeah, and the low buy, I guess, because last year I wasn't buying, so as well as doing the different outfit, I wasn't buying any clothes last year. And yeah, I guess I learned how to sort of like repurpose things and maybe try things with different items that I wouldn't ordinarily have tried them with. So yeah, I think a lot was learnt last year, and mainly that it's really hard work when you set yourself a year's challenge to do something. But I very much enjoyed it. What are my Women's Prize reading plans? So I mentioned that earlier. So the Women's Prize for non-fiction long list has just come out. So that's 16 books. I did a live show reaction to that. I'll link that down below if you're interested in going to watch. And then the Women's Prize for fiction long list, which will be another 16 books, will be out at the beginning of March, the very beginning of March. It's normally on Independence Women's Day, so International Women's Day, Independent Women's Day. Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, and I plan to read all of that long list if I can. I very rarely achieved it, but I do plan on reading the whole long list. And then the long list for the non-fiction prize, I've sort of, when I went through that list, if you saw the live show, or if you want to watch the live show, you'll see that I was saying this isn't the fiction prize. I don't have to read everything, whereas I like to read everything on that list. And I was sort of picking things that I thought I would like. So The Peep Show is one that I would like to read from them. The Naina Cherry book, 1,000 Threads. There's a book about 4 women living in modern China. There's one about the sea. I'm listening to Ootlin at the moment on audiobook. So yeah, sort of narrative non-fiction I think is more my bag. There's a little baby cat here. You're so nice. So yeah, and I'll be doing a live reaction to the Women's Prize for fiction long list. I got told, so my favourite video related to the Women's Prize for fiction is Eric and Anna talking about what books they think will be on the Women's Prize for fiction long list, and it's a really long lovely video, and they both have their predictions, and obviously that could have like as many as 32 books in there, because if they both pick completely separate books, they don't, quite a few overlap. But I love that video, and I mentioned it to Eric last week when I commented on one of his videos, and he said, oh, me and Anna filmed that yesterday, it's going to be up this week. So I was really hoping it was going to be up today, and I've been keeping an eye on my thing, but it's not up there yet. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching that. It's just a great time of the year for reading, the Women's Prize, like this sort of month, especially now that the non-fiction prize comes out as well, because it means it's even more fun. There's so much fluff everywhere in February as well. Should we do the question about you, seeing as you're here? There's a question asking, well, there was 2 questions. One about asking how Daphne settled in, and one asking what breed Daphne is. So Daphne is a British Blue, aren't you? She's a lovely, lovely British Blue. There's also another sort of type of cat called a Russian Blue, which looks a lot like Dappy. And there's somebody who walks their cat down the beach, who's got a Russian Blue. We could never take you down the beach, could we? But a Russian Blue has got sort of like a longer, I guess what you're used to, sort of cat face, rather than this little squishy girl face. Look there. Mind my tea. So yeah, Daphne's a British Blue. We got her as a rescue from a rescue centre in Orpington. And yeah, she took a bit of time to settle in. So she sort of, we got her and she had a bit of a frightened first day. And then after that, she seemed to be doing really, really well. Now, when we got Minnie, our old cat, who was a Persian, we got her from a rescue centre, not the same rescue centre. She literally came out of her cat carrier and lived in the house, and that was it. And we saw her loads and she didn't hide away, and she was not super... I'm going to put her on screen while I'm talking about her because it's rude not to, isn't it? And just sort of like, I say friendly, Minnie wasn't very friendly, but like she just sort of like was fine. So after the first day, when you were a bit shy, and then the days after that you were all right, we thought you just sort of settled in perfectly, didn't we? We thought you were a perfect baby, ready to live with us. And then after a week or so, she just sort of really completely regressed and would leave the room. If we came in the room, she was pooing on the floor. She was doing like really bloody poos, which were... I was terrified about, but when I called the vet about them and spoke to the rescue centre, they said, no, that's a sign of stress. So what we think had actually happened was that Dappy had been taken to, so she'd been in the rescue centre we got her from for 17 days. She'd been in another rescue centre for 14 days before that. And before that, she'd come from another rescue centre, and they don't know how long she'd been there. So we think the first week she sort of was thinking, oh well, I'm probably going to be moving on. And then when after a couple of weeks, that's when she started to get stressed out, because she thought, well, I must be moving on soon, because she'd never really spent more than 2 weeks in anywhere for at least for the last sort of 6 weeks of her life. So yeah, so we had a bit of regression, and she would leave the room if we were in there and like doing bad poos and stuff like that. So we did everything that we were told to do in the first place, which was basically ignore her, let her come to you, maybe spend a bit of time with her. We were wearing socks around the house to sort of make things a bit more gentle for her and things like that. Were you licking on the windowsill? And almost instantly, things got better. And then David and I have really noticed since Christmas that she's been so much more sort of affectionate. And you'll see she was sat there for a little bit then. And she'll sit on our laps a little bit, and she'll want to be in the room when we're in here, and she'll sit on the bed when we're on the bed. She doesn't sleep on the bed like Minnie used to, but she's really picked up the sort of wanting to be around us a lot more in the last 2 months, which is lovely. And she's just been a bit more affectionate. She was always less sort of around David, and like she used to play with David a lot, but she'd never sit on David's lap or anything like that, and she's been doing that a little bit as well. So yeah, we hope she's really settled, and we love her very much, and we hope that she loves us. We think she does. So there we go, those are the Dappy questions. I've seen you listen to audiobooks sped up. Why and what is the best speed for you? Well, it depends really, because I can listen to an audiobook on normal speed, but sometimes I feel like they're read really, really slowly. An option of an example of this I can give you is a book called Eat, Sweat, Play, Run, Sweat, Play, which is a book about women in sport, and the narrator of that speaks so slowly I absolutely have to speed it up. However, because I've been doing this sort of thing where I've been listening to, I've been doing those 4 books in a week, like the library book, the book that I own, the ebook, and then the audiobook. Towards the end of the week, I'm thinking, oh, well, if I want to start another audiobook on Monday, then maybe I should speed this up a little bit. And that might be why it gets sped up at the weekend. But it doesn't always happen. And like, I think you definitely have to build up to the higher levels. So I would never go from like listening to it on normal speed to then listening to it on 2. I could listen to something on 2, but I would have to go like and listen to an hour on 1.2, and then maybe listen to another hour on 1.5, and then maybe listen to another hour on 1.8, and then like gradually build it up. Because sometimes when David comes in and I'm listening to something, he's like, what on earth is that going on? But because I've built up and because I'm familiar with the story and the narrator, it sort of like is able to do that. But yeah, would be interested in people's thoughts on listening to sped up audiobooks. What would David say he loves most about you and vice versa? Well, David's here actually. Let me think what I think he'd say. The question is, what would I think that you would say that you love about me most? Well, whatever I say, David's going to say, yeah, that is what I love about you most. I think he might say that I'm quite a calming influence, which sounds mad because that's not really my personality. But if David's ever stressed out about something, I think it literally takes a 5 to 10 minute conversation with me and he feels much, much better almost instantly.
That's very true.
So that might be what he loves most about me. What would you have said that you love most about me?
What would I have said most?
What would you have said?
I just love how much you love me.
Well, weirdly, that was going to be my answer, is that what I love most about David is how loved I feel. Like, not a day goes by where I don't feel so looked after and loved and appreciated. And it's not like you're saying thank you for every single thing I put down in front of you or everything I do for you, but I always just feel so wanted and needed and loved. Yeah, so that's what clearly that's what I love most about David, is that how loved he makes me feel, and does it sort of effortlessly as well, which is lovely. So yeah, what I think David would say that he loves most about me is that I'm quite calming and can calm him down like almost instantly. And what I love most about him is that I feel so loved. What about you? What would you say that I love most about you?
You love most about me?
Oh, I have just sprung it on you, I suppose. He's too busy watching the adverts on the telly.
I'm just thinking.
He's just thinking.
It's hard to think.
Oh, you're going to have to do that because that's too annoying for me to listen to. It's so, how do you listen to that? It's so loud. He's just taking his headphones off and it's like someone's just put the speaker on in the room. Don't worry about answering, Bebe. I've just sprung it on you, so don't worry.
Thank you, but I love you.
The main thing is the love is there. Right, then I've got, what is your favourite meal to cook for David? Well, if it's my favourite meal to cook for David, it's probably not for David. It's probably just because it's like a favourite meal of mine to cook, because he sort of eats whatever he's given. Well, no, there are obviously a few questions about you, David. You're very loved here. What is my favourite meal to cook for David? So what I really love cooking mainly is sort of like spreads. So what we're doing on a Friday with not Cozy Reading Night, with the old Friday reading vlogs at the moment, is we're cooking from a Jamie's 30-minute meals, which often include sort of like 2 or 3 bowls of stuff that you can help, and that's my favourite thing to cook for anyone. So in particular, like salads and stuff. So when it comes into, I don't like summer, but I've been thinking a lot about what I might like about summer. One of the things I do like is like salads and things like that. So yeah, I love doing sort of like chopping up a salad and then it just tasting really, really good. So yeah, I don't know if it's my favourite meal to cook for David, because he just is happy to be cooked for. Go on, off you go, bye-bye. There we go. What is your favourite place to walk? I guess this sort of fits in with where are my favourite places in the UK. So we really enjoy a beach walk. We really like the beach in the winter as well. But we're currently working our way through a little book called Kent 40 Favourite Walks, which we're doing in the Friday reading vlogs as well. I'll link the last Friday reading vlog below. It was the Valentine's Day one, because we had a lovely meal and we went for a lovely walk. And I think what I realised, what my favourite places to walk are places that have sort of like different things to look at. So we went to Hive the week before last, along the canal path, along the seafront, a little bit of canal walk, a little bit of town walking. David really likes looking into people's windows, and I quite like that as well. So like, or looking at people's houses and stuff like that. So yeah, those are the favourite place. Right, there was quite a few questions about my new job. So I got a new job last summer, that job still feels very new and almost like a little bit too new maybe to still talk about it. But yeah, I no longer work for the NHS. I now work in local council. Yeah, I have really, really high highs when we've sort of achieved something, and then there's been some low lows because I've been doing stuff that I've never done before and I've really doubted my my capabilities in those. Something I've really learnt about myself and new jobs in the last year is that sometimes you've got to trust the process. Like where I'd been in a job in the NHS for 19 years and I'd had everything sort of spelled out for me and this is how it's been done for so long and blah 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 blah, like coming into a new job at a later age and learning whole new processes, I've really had to sort of think, oh well, I might not get it today and I might not get it tomorrow, I might not get it next week, but at some point this is going to click, and that has been happening. So I've really learned to sort of trust the process. That has also happened with crochet as well, because I didn't really know what I was doing with crochet to start with. But yeah, I trust the process is something that I've definitely learned in the last year, both work-wise and crochet-wise. David, that person on the telly, is that David Harbour? Was that David Harbour?
Yeah.
I thought it was him. David's watching the newsroom, he's quite into it. Are you doing anything special for David's birthday this year? I believe it's his 40th. It is David's 40th. My gift to David is that we are going on a holiday. We're going on another cruise to Norway. We had considerations about where else we'd want to go. We knew we wanted to go on another cruise because we went for our honeymoon, not last year, the year before, and had the best time. Or was it last year? No, it wasn't last year, it was the year before. And had such an amazing time. So we've been really wanting to go back on a cruise. The light's coming through the window and making me look a bit hazy. So yeah, it's David's 40th this year. It's my 40th next year. So we're going to go on a cruise for my 40th. And we're going on a cruise this year for David's 40th. And we're going to Norway again, which will be lovely. And the cruise that we're going on, although we went to 5 stops in Norway last year, we're going to 4 stops in Norway this year, and we've only been to one of them once before, so we'll be going to 3 new places in Norway. Cruises are brilliant for us because we're very lazy travellers, and we sort of like we like to be driven to places, and then this is where you're going to be. So when you're on a cruise ship, that's absolutely perfect. I reckon I might make this, you know. So yeah, otherwise we don't really know. We was actually having a conversation about this because it will come around quicker than we realise, and I was saying you need to have an idea of what you might want to do for your 40th so that we can make plans for that. Whether or not, like on his birthday, he wants to spend it with family or friends or just me and things like that. So yeah, we normally make quite a big deal out of birthdays in this house, and my birthday in particular normally spreads over a sort of weekend or a week. So yeah, we still need to make more plans. But yeah, the main plan is that we're going on a cruise, and I can't bloody wait for that. What is my go-to Chinese takeaway and Indian orders? Right, so until last year, David and I had never really had a Chinese takeaway because David always maintained that he didn't like Chinese takeaway, and as a vegetarian, the Chinese restaurants around here, very, very difficult to get anything that isn't a Fu Young or chow mein with mushrooms in it. But since I've been eating fish again, which includes prawns, I've been able to get prawn balls, which I do love, or dishes with prawns in, because yeah, a lot of the sort of vegetables in sauces were never that nice. So yeah, I would probably say prawn balls are definitely a noodle dish, like a chow mein. I would say a mushroom chow mein, but the last mushroom chow mein I had was horrible. The mushrooms were like basically raw. And there's a place for raw mushrooms. I'll eat a raw mushroom, but not when I was sort of expecting it to be cooked in a chow mein. And yeah, that's probably it for Chinese. Indian stuff, I really like things with spinach in them, and I really like things with paneer in them. Before we lived in this flat, the old flat we lived in, we lived near the best Indian takeaway. It was so, so yummy, and I'd always have a saag paneer because that incorporated like 2 of my favourite things, spinach and paneer. And then I'd probably have a chana masala, which is a chickpea curry, and then I'd have like mushroom rice or coconut rice, and then an onion bhaji. Yeah, so I always had like rather than get like one dish, I'd always get like 3 sides and then have a bit of rice as well, and then other people could eat that as well. So that was mine. Any predictions for the women's prize long list? I really, really, really hope Claire Chambers' book is in there, because I read that. It was the first book I read this year, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. oh God, I just loved it so much. And I think about it all the time. My friend Emma read it quite shortly after me as well, so we've spent a lot of time talking about it and how much we enjoyed it. So I really, really, really hope that's on there. I don't know why. The book I'm reading at the moment, Moon Road by Sarah Leapseeger, I'm not having the best time reading it or anything, but I've got really big vibes that it is going to be on that long list, because it's a sort of like road trip story. So in it we're following an older woman whose daughter went missing a long time ago, and her ex-husband, who she's only recently started talking to again, are doing this road trip from one side of Canada to the other, or along the coastline, to sort of discover something maybe about their daughter's missing case status. And I don't know, every time I pick it up I think, oh, I could see this being on the long list. So yeah, so those are two that I'm sort of thinking about a little bit, but I need to do a bit more of a deep dive on it and pick what up, because I'd like to do a predictions, I normally do, and pop it on Instagram or something. So yeah, more, but those are two, you can have those two I think will definitely be on there. You and David always seem so happy and content with each other. Is it always like this? Yeah, I hate to be that person, but yeah, it is. Yeah, we get on very, very well. We've been very fortunate that we both just get on very well, and like we don't really have any disagreements about anything, and if we do, they're normally resolved very, very quickly. Our lives are, we don't have children, so our lives, and we only really have ourselves to look out for, really. So our lives are quite sort of low stress, low risk, which maybe adds to the fact that we're not cross about anything. But yeah, we do. We get on really well. But it's nice too, isn't it? It's nice to get on really well. I'm diabetic and I'm interested in knowing how your journey's going. So yeah, it's okay. This is always a time of year that I struggle with in terms of my diabetes, because in order for me to stay sort of like, I'm type 2, but I've sort of flirted around the pre-diabetic stage for a long time, and at one point I wasn't even pre-diabetic, and there's a few things I need to do in order to manage that. And I'm now on metformin, so I wasn't on that before, but I was able to reverse it before, but I think I'm just getting to the point now where I'm not able to do that. So I'm on metformin, but I need to be doing like 10,000 steps a day basically, which is sort of picking up now that we're going outside a lot more and things like that. And I also needed to have one meal a day which was carb free. So whether that would be sort of yogurt and blueberries in the morning, or soup for lunch, or a salad for lunch. Yeah, and this time of year, when it's cold and dark outside, all I want to do is sit on my sofa and eat. So this is, and also because it's cold and dark outside, like I'm not one for, like I don't mind going out for a walk in the cold, but if it's dark or raining, then I do not want to do that. So this is the type of year where things go a bit awry for me. But like I said, I'm on metformin, so I'm stable in terms of that. But yeah, those were my sort of like things that worked for me, would be doing 10,000 steps a day, and having a carb-free meal once a day, and now being on metformin. Do you sometimes feel pressured to read a certain book? Definitely not so much anymore. When I first started BookTube, I would definitely say I felt like that. I can't say, like, I don't want to say pressure, but I like to do things like read the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. And like I said, like I will aim to read all of those books. So do I feel pressure to do it? No, I don't think I do feel pressure, because I wouldn't, if it didn't happen for me, I'd just be like, oh well, I wasn't able to read all of them. Like that's how I would feel. So yeah, there's definitely hype maybe that I think, oh God, I've seen lots of people reading that and they say they like it, I will go there next. But yeah, I would never say it's pressure. It's more just sort of like, I get behind the hype of stuff. I'm very easily hyped, guys. Very, very easily hyped. One more stitch and then I can read another question. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to count to 3 on these sort of things. We've done Daphne. Regarding your 1,000 hours challenge, what are you looking forward to trying that's new outside? So David and I mentioned this in the Valentine's Day vlog, we've just decided we are going to do something called 1,000 hours. It's a challenge where you challenge yourself to spend 1,000 hours outside over the course of a year. Now we only started this on Valentine's Day, so we're already 6 weeks behind, and maybe I'm not going to it thinking, oh, I'm definitely going to achieve that, but it's definitely a nice number to work towards, and it means we're spending a lot of time outside already. So maybe I'm not even looking forward to trying sort of new things, but I'm looking forward to like encouraging myself. So for example, yesterday when I finished work and came home, David and I were like, should we go out for a walk? And we went out for an hour and a half walk around the village that we live in. And ordinarily we might have done like one lap of where we are, but because we knew we wanted to sort of chip into it, we were like, oh, let's go a little bit further. And when we got back, we just felt so invigorated and had a lovely time. So yeah, maybe I'm not looking forward to trying new things. Something I'm really looking forward to is doing a lot of al fresco eating, and definitely once it's warmed up a little bit, like maybe taking my book down the beach for an hour and reading of an evening, or going to a local park and sitting there and reading of an evening. And like I said, taking meals outside. Even things like eating outside in my parents' garden or David's parents' garden would count as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to more alfresco eating. That's what I'm looking forward to. What is the future of Lauren and the Looks? I loved it. Oh, thanks so much. So Lauren and the Looks was the chat that another Instagram account I've got, whereby I was sort of having like showing off my outfits for the year. And last year I said I tried to wear a different outfit every day for the whole year without buying anything new. At the moment there's no plans for it. I definitely enjoy the fashion side of things. I've always been very interested in like clothes and things like that, but at the moment there's no plans to do another challenge like that. It took up a lot of my time and I'm enjoying wearing the same things a lot this year. It's definitely not clothes forever, but yeah, maybe we'll look at doing, like I used to do something called Outfits October, where I'd wear a different outfit in October and fit it to themes, and maybe those themes would be book related or film related or colour related and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe that will come back at some point, but yeah, at the moment no Lauren and the Looks plans. How do I manage to read so many books? I've only read 9 this year. 9 is an amazing amount of books to have read. Congratulations and well done. It varies for me, because once I saw that question I had a look, and so I've just finished today my 29th book. I think I just finished today. Let's have a look. 29 books, yeah, so I just finished saying my 29th book, but I had a look at last year, and at this point I'd only read like 60, I'd read 16 books, so it really does vary for me. And maybe this year, because I've been doing that sort of like 4 book thing every week and finishing the 4 books, and that might be why I'm a little bit ahead. Obviously COVID, like 2020, I read loads because there wasn't much else, I wasn't doing much else. How do I manage to read that many books? For me, I don't know, it doesn't always work, is like having a few books on the go, so that if one is tiring me a bit, then I can flip to something else. Having an audiobook on the go at all times, that always helps me out. I count all my reading. So for example, this morning I finished a board book, a picture book that I'd got out from the library. Some people don't count those books, but I do. I don't count the books I read with my niece though, which maybe I should do. Maybe there'd be even more than that. But yeah, I think making time to read, and also I'm someone who reads like all the time. So like, for example, today when we were on our way to the cinema, on the way back from the cinema, David stopped to get petrol, and while David's putting petrol in the car, I'll sit and read a double page of my book. So I'm fitting it in wherever and whenever. Even down to like, if David's dishing up dinner and I'm sat at the table waiting for dinner to arrive, then I'll be reading. And I always read before I go to bed, and I always read about 40 pages before I go to bed at night. So I'm always doing that. I read in the bath, I read on my lunch hour, I read, yeah, I just read all the time. So if you've got the time to fit it in, and you could probably surprise yourself with when you could fit that in, like when someone's putting petrol in the car, or while you're waiting for dinner to arrive, or when you're brushing your teeth. And also, like, David and I have made the bedroom a phone-free zone, so we have our phones on our bedside tables and the alarms are on, but we don't touch our phones when we're in the bedroom going to bed at night. So whereas before I probably would have scrolled on my phone for, well, I mean 20 minutes plus, now that time is dedicated to reading. So that is how I read so much. But interested in reading tips down below. God, this video is going to be ages, so hopefully you're having a lovely time. What is a book that has low ratings or poor reviews that you loved? I don't really pay much attention to the ratings, so I wouldn't even be able to answer that, sadly. But yeah, I don't pay attention to ratings, and I was on Goodreads years ago, and I've only just joined Storygraph at the beginning of this year, so yeah, I haven't I haven't paid much attention to things like that. Can we see your movie reviews anywhere? So David reviews movies on Letterboxd. David, what are you on Letterboxd? Beardy David.
Sorry?
What are you on Letterboxd? Beardy David. You can follow David's movie reviews over there. I put star ratings on there, but I don't review movies. I review so much stuff. It's just nice to have something that I can just sort of like log rather than review. So if you're after star ratings, and it's just reminded me that I need to put Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy on there, you can follow me on Letterboxd. I'm not Lauren and the Books. They wouldn't let me have Lauren and the Books. I might be called Lauren the Books. Lauren the Books over on Letterboxd, and you can see no reviews but star ratings, so if that's what you're interested in. But like I said, yeah, I review so much that sometimes it's nice just to take something in. Couple of questions about the job. Have you ever tried to learn another language? If not, would you consider? So I learned French at school, and I can sort of understand a bit of French. But yeah, I do enjoy the process, and I think I would love to learn like another language, but it's just fitting it in with everything else I do as well. So before we went to Norway, not last year, the year before, I did a couple of weeks worth of Duolingo Norwegian before then, just so I could get a sort of feel for things. Oh, my battery's about to run out. Let me go and change my battery. Got to do my stitches first, then I'll change my battery. More questions. Am I doing a goals video in March? I love those. Yeah, so for the past, as long as I can remember, I've done something called 10 goals for 10 months in March, whereby I, instead of sort of doing my New Year's resolutions in January, I let the year bed in a bit, and then in March I pick 10 goals because there's 10 months of the year left, and I always have a little look at last year's goals as well and think about how I've done on that. But to be honest, once I've made that video, until I make the next one the next year, I don't really think about those goals so much. I mean, this year I've got a few things that are already underway, so hopefully I will, like, I mean, one of them was learn how to crochet, and I can do one stitch. Does that count as learning how to crochet? But yeah, I'm looking forward to making that video actually, because I've got a few, like, I mean, I've already spoken about 1,000 outside hours, but I've got a few things that I would like to achieve this year. But God, I can't remember what was on last year's at all. I need to go back and watch that video again. But yes, I will be making one of those videos talking about my goals for the rest of the year. How much reading do you average each day or week? Let's have a little think about the day then, rather. So like I said, so I don't do any reading. The first time I probably pick up a book is lunchtime, and if David's here, I'll probably read for 10 minutes on my lunch, but if I'm on my own, I'll read for the full half hour. And then when I get home, David doesn't finish work until after I do, so I'll often read for a little bit then. So let's make that up to an hour then at that point. Then if I have a bath, I'll read for 40 minutes plus in the bath. And then, like I said, I read for at least 40 minutes every evening. So let's say 2+ hours a day I read. Now at the weekend, and if I'm not at work, then I'll read a bit more. So for example, this not at work today, so I spent half hour in bed reading this morning. On a Friday, I'll often read for half hour, like probably about 40 minutes actually, in bed when I wake up. And then I'll dip in and out of books as the Friday goes by. And then over the weekend, I'll probably pick up like an extra hour a day at the weekend. So if we're going 2 hours Monday to Thursday, that's 8 hours. Let's say 4 hours on a Friday, that's 12 hours. And then let's say 6 hours over the weekend. So 18 hours a week I'm probably reading. And that's like, if I'm not doing like a reading vlog, and like sometimes, occasionally I've done like, how can I read for 24 hours in a weekend? I love filming those vlogs, but David gets very left alone. I don't talk to him much at all. And then obviously like I would read for 24 hours in one weekend. So yeah, 18 hours doesn't sound like that much at all, does it? But yeah, that's probably roughly how much I get. When do you think you would hold the next cozy reading night? I need to do a winter one, and winter is quickly whittling away. So maybe I'll do a let's spring into spring one. So maybe March will be one. Maybe after the Women's Prize for Fiction long list has been announced, because then maybe we'll all be reading Women's Prize for Fiction books, and that would be quite fun, wouldn't it? That would be quite fun, actually. Maybe I'll do that, yeah. Maybe. Why do you think you find reading certain topics difficult now? For example, emotional subjects. God, do you know what? I really don't know. And we were actually talking about this because there's a TV series called Big Boys. It's on the 3rd series, which David and I have watched the first 2 series and had a great time. And sure, there's some emotional bits in it. But I'd heard that something very sad happens, no spoilers, in the 3rd series. And we watched the first 2 episodes and nothing super sad's happened yet. And I just thought, no, I can't put myself through it. So it's not only in reading that I'm finding topics difficult, it's also like watching difficult things. But I think sometimes you just need a little break from that sort of thing, maybe. And maybe like at one point, like I'll be able to withstand it again. But at the moment, I can still put myself through it. So like I've just read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. And I was so excited to read an R.F. Kuang book because I love Babel and I love Yellowface, and there's a new one coming out this year. And I knew there was this trilogy of YA books, maybe. I mean, if it is YA, there's a lot of heavy shit that goes on in there. And I didn't like the first bit where Rin, who we're following, she sort of gets enrolled in a school to become a super soldier. And I didn't mind the bits at the school, and I sort of liked the friendship she was making and hearing about the day-to-day school stuff. And sure, it's a little bit violent. But when it got to the actual meat of the book, I guess, there was so much like war atrocity stuff that's going on, like horrific things that like sometimes I couldn't even concentrate because I was still so like tuned into this horrific thing I just read about that I wasn't taking in the next bit of the step, because the next bit of the book, like, and I'm aware these bad things happen, but God, yeah. So I think maybe I'll come back to it, but I can't think why I find certain things difficult. I don't know what's happened. Someone's asked about my favourite vegan snack. Well, David and I have just got these Spudos crisps that I bought in for Valentine's Day, and they've been very, very nice, and they're vegan crisps, and you get this stuff called spud dust that you can dust your crisps in, and they've got, well, we've had fried chicken so far, nooch and onion, and chip shop curry. They're very nice. But also something I really, really love are balsamic vinegar onions, which are really, really good. So you just get like a silver skin onion and put them in balsamic vinegar, like boil them in balsamic vinegar, and they are really, really nice. So yeah, 2 vegan snacks for you there. How am I getting on with the crocheting? I'd say okay-ish. Did I open the rest of Jen's gifts? It was such a lovely present. No, and there is plans. So Jen got me for Christmas last year a little bookish challenge box where she got me some she made me some challenges and then got me some little gifts once I've completed those challenges, and I'm going to do a reading vlog where I finish off the challenges and get ourselves the little gifts like in a week or a weekend. So yeah, so that'll be coming a bit later on after the Women's Prize reading has gone down a bit, but yeah, that is coming. Am I doing an outfits challenge this year? No. And then the last question was, what are you currently reading? So I'm currently reading How to Winter by Kari Leibovitz, which I'm reading for Patreon Book Club at the moment. That's probably going to be finished today. As I said, I'm reading Moon Road by Sarah Lipsiger, which I think I've just got feelings will be on the Women's Prize long list. And then the last book I'm listening to, because I've already finished my e-reader book for this week because it came over from last week, which was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I'm listening to Ootlin by Jenny Fagan, which is the first book I'm reading on the Women's Prize for non-fiction long list, and it's a memoir, and I do get on best with sort of narrative non-fiction, and she's a novelist, so the writing itself is beautiful, but yeah, it's quite tragic and traumatic. She was in and out of care as a child, and some of the care she was at the hands of, like these people who are employed to be foster parents and things like that, was just horrific. So yeah, that's what I'm reading. But thank you so much for all of the questions. Like I said, I grouped together some ones that were similar, and yeah, let me know how your reading's going this year, and I'll see you all again soon for another booktube video. Goodbye.